to England. Our class was called Law and Literature, and we studied Wilde, Doyle, Shakespeare, Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, Dickens. Am I forgetting anyone? I think that's it? Okay. We went with Professor Zampini and Donna Toscano and her family. We spent the majority of the time in London. We did a day trip to Bath, a day trip to Stratford-upon-Avon, and an overnight to Haworth in Yorkshire. I'm Elle Trudeau. I'm a philosophy and political science double major.
I'm Stephanie Ryan. I'm an accounting and philosophy double major.
I'm Jericho Densmore. I'm a psychology major with a minor in English.
I'm Jessica Jager. I'm a sophomore anthropology major.
I'm Christina Monti. I'm a sophomore nursing major.
I'm Anne Blum. I'm an English major with a German minor.
I'm Brittany Marangello. I'm a junior English major with a minor in history.
I'm Jennifer Nzetta. I'm a junior English major and philosophy major.
I'm Marissa Marks. I'm a senior English major.
I'm Stephanie Busima. I'm a junior philosophy major with minors in journalism and English, and this is my second UIH trip.
I'm Stephanie. I'm a junior education and English major.
So we kind of split it up, so I guess we'll do our part first. We're doing Shakespeare and Dickens. So Shakespeare was born in 1564 in the town of Stratford-upon-Avon. He grew up there and went on to marry his wife Anne Hathaway, but his work as a playwright brought him to London eventually, where his plays ran during the spring and summer months at the Globe Theatre. His first play was Henry VIII, and his last was The Tempest. All of his plays were performed at the Globe, which is an outdoor theatre located on the south bank of the Thames, away from the noise of central London. The original Globe was destroyed in a fire, but the Globe's replica still exists today. Shakespeare died in 1660, but his plays had a lasting effect on English literature, and they're still performed twice a day at the Globe Theatre in London. That's just a picture of the outside of the theatre, which we got a tour. So I wanted to talk about my favorite part of the Globe, which was heaven and hell. If you look on the top left, you can see the ceiling had like this ornate, beautiful gold, and it was drawing of heaven. There's angels and clouds. And then on the bottom picture is hell. And it was, there's like different levels in the Globe. So there's groundlings, which is the lower levels, and it was where the poor people would stand during the entire shows. And it was painted so they could look up and see heaven, and it would remind them that it doesn't matter if you're poor and you don't have money, you can still rise up to heaven. And the rich people would be sitting way up top in the boxes, and they would have hell to look down on to remind them that if they don't give to the poor and if they don't give back, that they could go to hell. It doesn't matter that they're rich. We also went to the museum that was attached, and it was just dedicated to the history of the theater and the productions that have been staged there. There was costumes, props, and instruments, and there was rooms that were dedicated to each one of Shakespeare's works.
Okay, so one of our day trips, like Elle said, was to Stratford-upon-Avon, which is where Shakespeare was born and he lived. And we have some pictures there. That river is the Avon, that the town gets its name from. Next to that is a picture of the street where the home where Shakespeare was born and grew up in leads out to. On the bottom left, that you can't really read it, but that is a tavern. It's called the Encore. A lot of the establishments in the town are kind of dedicated to Shakespeare's life. So there's the Encore on the street where the birthplace is. There was like an ice cream kind of shop called William Shakes. As You Like It Cafe, and that the final picture is just the Swan Tavern. Kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of, it's much more laid back. It's definitely not London. It's not a city, but it's still beautiful. So we took a bus tour around the city that stops at different. It's geared towards Shakespeare's life and stops at different places. And our first stop was Anne Hathaway's cottage, which is actually outside of the city of Stratford-upon-Avon. The top picture is the cottage itself. And on the little tour, we got like audio, and they were telling us how Anne Hathaway was older than Shakespeare, but he would still walk there every day to go visit her, and they don't call them boy toys, they call them toy boys. So he went to go visit. He went to go visit her every day, and then they were married in 1582. And we got to go inside the cottage. We couldn't take pictures, but we did get a tour, and we got to see the bedrooms and the kitchen where they explained how life was lived there. And there was even like this bench, and a few people, I don't remember who sat on it, but it was this bench that it was rumored that William Shakespeare courted Anne Hathaway on. So it was definitely a great experience. Outside of the home, there's gardens that you can see there. There was like a little forest to walk through, so it was really cool to get an idea of how Anne Hathaway and Shakespeare started their life together. And then we went to the birthplace, which is recognizable by the flat tree, the flat top tree that's right outside of it. That's a picture from the top of our bus tour. It was freezing out, but it was worth it. The house itself is now an interactive museum that plays clips of productions of Shakespeare's plays, and it reads out some of the more famous lines that you may recognize but not necessarily know come from Shakespeare. It just goes to show you the huge impact that Shakespeare had. And before you walk into the museum, they have the ring that is believed to have been worn by Shakespeare. It has his crest on it, so it's really cool. And then outside of the museum, like I said, it opens up onto a street where there's a lot of different shops. There was like one shop was dedicated to like year-round Christmas, like ornaments and stuff you could find there. There was like a witchcraft shop, you know, all that, a wand there. So it was really, really cool.
For my brother, not for me.
But yeah, it was definitely a great experience to see a town that's so much like the way Shakespeare knew it, but not exactly, but still definitely lets you appreciate Shakespeare.